another pro-trans bill resulted in a furry convention and transphobic protests happening at the same time and place. Christine Goodwin, a British transgender rights activist, was instrumental in the introduction of the 2004 Gender Recognition Act. A former bus driver who underwent sex reassignment surgery challenged the British government in the European Court of Human Rights over a variety of problems. Her inability to receive a state pension at the same time as other women, sexual harassment, embarrassment, and humiliation from an employer discovering her previous gender. The court ruled in favor and the British government introduced the act in response. The previous legal text for sex was based on a 1970 case in which a man was spoiled due to one part being transgender. This act allows people who have gender dysphoria to change their legal gender through obtaining a gender recognition certificate, a document that confirms they have satisfied the criteria for legal recognition of the required gender. With this certification, employers and organizations, including them, will be considered sex discrimination. A panel of medical and legal experts reviews the evidence to grant the certificate. The act also protects the privacy of trans individuals by classing info related to the gender recognition process as confidential. While this was a major victory for transgender Britons in the LGBTQ+ community, it has since become outdated. In 2016, the Women and Equalities Committee published a review of the act, identifying its shortcomings and making recommendations for reform. A year later, the Scottish government acknowledged the act is outdated and places intrusive and onerous requirements on those seeking to change their gender. They proposed eliminating the medical evidence requirement and to have lived in preferred gender for 2 years before applying. At the time, Minister for Equality Justine Greening considered reforms to demedicalize the process with the principle of self-identification. In 2020, the European Commission ranked the UK as being the second worst category of 5 categories across 28 European countries due to intrusive medical requirements that lag behind international human rights standards. The 2-year waiting period of successful applicants is ultimately criticized for being costly, bureaucratic, and time-consuming for trans people. The UK government published the results of a public consultation which shows wide support of all acts for reform, including 64% favoring removing the diagnosis of gender dysphoria requirement and 80% favoring removing the medical report requirement. The decision not to change the law was criticized by the Equality and Human Rights Convention as a missed opportunity. This will give an opportunity for Scotland to reform the act in the Gender Recognition Reform Bill, making it easier for people to change their legal gender. The Scottish National Party promised to review and reform the law to international standards as a 2016 election promise, which they won. The Scottish government planned to introduce the bill in 2020, was delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic until after the 2021 election. The bill was introduced in March 2022, which aimed to lower the age of a legal gender change from 18 to 16, remove the medical diagnosis of the gender dysphoria requirement, and reduce the waiting time from 2 years to 6 months to living in their required gender. This final vote saw the bill pass with a majority of 86 to 39, or 68.8% in favor. The vast majority of votes came from centrist to left-wing parties, with the Scottish National Party was significantly in favor, while the Liberal Democrats, Labour, and Greens nearly all in favor. The vast majority of the centre-right Conservatives voted against it. Despite all these good signs, on January 17, 2023, England threw an order under Section 35 of the 1988 Scotland Act to prevent the bill from proceeding to royal assent, where King Charles will formally approve the act to the legislator. The Senate concerns the bill would negatively impact the British 2010 Equality Act. The order will be enforced unless the House of Parliament votes they disagree within 40 days by February 27th. This is the first time the royal assent was refused to a bill passed by the Scottish Parliament since 1999. An emergency debate on the use of the order was requested and granted, which resulted in a vote of 318 to 71, or 81.7% in favor of the UK's decision. While the vast majority of the Conservatives voted in favor and the vast majority of the SNP voted against, a vast majority of Labour didn't vote, likely due to the fact that the Conservatives had a majority and wouldn't be able to change results. The UK government blocking the bill sparked protests for and against it. One of these protests for the bill was on January 19th at number 10 Downing Street, where the British government works from. There was three in Glasgow, Scotland. One on January 21st in support of the bill, one against on February 5th, and another counter-protest. The last protest is the most interesting. It's happened in the same time and place as Scotiacon, a furry convention based in Scotland. The convention in 2023 was held between February 3rd and 6th at the Glasgow Crown Plaza, which is 2 miles away from where the protest will be happening. Kelly J. Keane, aka Posey Parker, is a far-right trans-exclusionary radical feminist transphobe who rejects the notion that trans women are women, inclusion of trans women in women's faces, and transgender rights legislation. In 2020, she founded the transphobic organization Standing for Women. On February 5th, she planned a transphobic rally at George Square in Glasgow, Scotland. In response, Cabinet Against the Hate Speech, an LGBTQ+ group that organizes peaceful counter-protests against hate speech in Scotland, announced a counter-protest on January 18th. This is amplified by Furries Against Fascism on January 22nd. These posts gained significant amounts of attention on Twitter, which resulted in a larger pro-trans counter-protest compared to Keane's original transphobic protest. One furry and fursuit responded to the counter-protest, and were likely more out of fursuit present their costumes while also helping blend into the crowd. With increasing amount of tension between the LGBTQ+ community and bigots, there will be more conflicts like this globally. As states and countries update the laws to be more trans-inclusive in the 2010s, bigots will resist these changes. We only hope that furries, the LGBTQ+ community, and allies will resist the bigotry that's trying to do decades of progress. If you want to hear about other protests at furry conventions, check out the protests that happened at Midwest Fur Fest 2022 and what the convention was saved.